What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents. This story's called, "My Entitled Mom Tries to Own Time and Resents Not Being Able to Do So. For as long as I can remember, Mom has always been the first and final word in everything. And if you started poking holes in her logic using logic from that morning or the previous day, you were punished, and this included house rules. I suppose some of the extremes she went to try and discipline us was related to the fact that my brother, Donald, who's just like Donald Duck, annoying, useless, but occasionally awesome, and I were smarter than average and found workarounds by obeying the letter of the rules but not their spirit, because they were so arbitrary and served only to give her opportunities to steal from and beat us from elementary school onward. We were gonna get punished anyway, so what did it matter if we cheated a little? It was the time of dial-up internet and getting browsers in the mail as CDs, and we got our first computer, which gave her some leverage since we wanted to play games on it, but she didn't want our schooling to suffer. So she justifiably placed a time limit on non-school related activities on its use. Entirely reasonable, right? Well, we had to earn our time on the computer by doing chores instead of an allowance, which she seemed violently allergic to. What she never told us until it happened was that anytime she chose, we'd get our time taken away permanently. But we both found the sweet spot of her forgetfulness and reclaimed every last sweaty, hard-won second we were owed. Time goes on and we get a PlayStation 1, and the playtime extends there as well, but given it's my brother's system, there's now a twist. We each have our time, but I had to ask his permission to play, which he never gave because he was the golden child and the apple of Mom's eye. I had to go to Dad to work around this, since Donald blew his daily allowed game time as soon as he got home from school, and I waited till after homework for mine. Mom didn't like this and tried to enforce the rule of asking Donald, to which Dad had my back, and there was a screaming match in base housing over why their daughter had to ask for permission from her younger brother to play a console that Mom kept in the living room anyway because she didn't trust anyone not to sneak around her and play. It was glorious. They fought a lot about things like that, but she always won, since at the time my dad was active duty and she was always home. We coped with this inescapable torment in different ways, with Donald becoming her yes man and brown-noser for preferential treatment, and I sided with Dad, because even at that young age, I knew this crap was whack and I wasn't gonna stand for it. It went on like this until college, and she's carried on like she owned the time associated with any electronic device and even forbade us from getting cell phones. She said because we weren't responsible enough, but it was about the phone games. She couldn't reasonably keep us from playing outside the house on them, and therefore couldn't deny us gaming time on one. Mom even went as far as to try to keep us from leaving the house. On the weekends, we were being punished just so we couldn't see our friends and potentially play games at their houses. She should honestly have tried a different punishment because she was living proof of insanity at that point, expecting us to stop taking advantage of her forgetfulness to get our time back. She hated it whenever I got Dad involved to enforce the rules on Donald, who was as entitled as Mom and was slightly immune to her attempts to limit game time. The screaming matches between our parents over her entitled hypocrisy led to cops being called, and counseling was recommended, which, to Mom's credit, we did as a family. Little changed except that the therapist told Mom she was being unreasonable and was going to stress herself to an early grave if she didn't ease up. Why didn't she try establishing a structured list of rules for the family anyway? Everyone in the family says you change everything at the drop of a hat when mad, so if the rules are written and followed, then there'd be less complaining and fighting, right? A month later, we have the results, and honestly, it looked more like what parents set up for their second graders than a serious thing for a college student. Rules. Concrete rules. Rules she could only change if we all agreed to the change, or most of the family anyway, with ironclad rewards and punishments. Donald and I grilled her for hours on the new rules, making sure we understood every line, and that she understood that her BS about arbitrarily denying us time on any computer and console game was not a part of these rules and would not be tolerated. She kept whining about us making the introduction of the rules longer than it had to be, but she was slipperier than a sea slug, and we all wanted to know the ins and outs of this new way of living and its implications. The short of it was, there was a daily list of chores that had to be done, and missing something meant you had to draw from a colored stack of index cards for your punishment, which had a wild card to be any other card in the pile, and a free card because sometimes you got away with crap. Rewards were given for days without punishment, and with bonus rewards at the end of a perfect week. The rewards were poker tokens that could be saved and cashed in for a set list of established rewards like an extra soda, extra time on a computer, etc. But if you could argue the case, they could have a $1 value towards something from a store. The plan was ultimately to have this phased out, as we were all too old to do this for any extended period of time, and some things were changed, such as the soda reward being removed after Donald used his saved tokens to buy a 12-pack of soda that he kept in his room so he wouldn't have to share. That rule was removed, and the one about the bonus game time was nearly removed as well, but I pointed out that I rarely used that one or the soda reward, and Mom hadn't gotten any family consensus to remove the soda perk. It was only her and Dad. I refused to let another perk get the axe because she didn't like what Donald did and wasn't willing to keep him from abusing the system and punishing the rest of us because of his entitlement. She didn't like this at all and tried to undermine this new system by trying to use wild cards to take away our playtime, which was against the rules, and she was not allowed to get away with that. Dad and I saw her chomping at the bit here, and we knew this blessed system was living on borrowed time. This marked the beginning of her killing a system that everyone but her loved, of its structure, predictability, and clean-cut rewards and punishments. It protected us from her, and we'd all signed a faux contract that stated we would follow and obey until a set date and time. It was slow at first, forgetting to give us our reward tokens, which Dad was happy to dole out. She'd try to misplace the slips of paper we had our token counts on because we were racking up quite a few at that point, only to find that Dad had a ledger of who had what, since he too had a stack of reward coins, and he knew what that moist bint was up to. I had to get a ledger that I hid in a torn stuffy because I'll be damned if she didn't try to find and get rid of anything used to track our accumulated rewards. Around this time, our internet provider announced a deal. If we got a brand new Wi-Fi router, we could get a deal on it and a month's accelerated bandwidth for half cost, or upgrade to the next best router, which required LAN cables. Dad, Donald, and I were all excited at the thought of the wireless router, as Mom had taken to turning off the internet to individual rooms after throwing a fit to have the router placed in the hottest balls garage over her car. Not a good place for a router, but perfect for a vindictive, unemployed housewife on a power trip. Needless to say, we didn't get a Wi-Fi router, and her behaviors just got worse towards the rule set that kept her in check before, and her antics by unplugging LAN cables meant our schooling suffered as courses were migrating to incorporate online classwork. The therapist had given us a time frame to observe this rule set before phasing it out, and we weren't even a quarter of the way through it when Mom flipped her entitled crap one day and went storming down the hall to where I was perched on a chair in front of Donald's PS3 loading some game, and she burst in like a bat out of hell, red in the face and steaming with a brown smear on her ankle.
"Oh, P, you didn't pick up all the dog's crap yesterday before you mowed the lawn, and I got it all over my foot. You lost your game time."
"That's against the rules. Gotta make me draw a card, Mom."
"Fine, have it your way."
She stormed down the hall in her waddling, limping glory and slammed my set of punishment cards on the kitchen counter with a look of unfiltered joy on her face. We had all been marking our cards for months with various stains of sauces when cooking, so we knew what we were in for, and my top card was free, so I pulled it out and showed it to her. Free.
"Wait, that's not fair. Draw another."
"Sorry, Mom, but failing to pick up doggy dollops only requires one draw, and you knew there's a chance to draw the free card out of all 32 of them. I don't have to draw, and it's against the rules." Mom turned a lovely shade of purple as I turned away and had my hour of playtime. This was the final nail in the coffin of that rule set, and Mom took all the reward tokens from everyone and threw them in the trash in front of Dad, who confronted her as it was against what the therapist had said and wasn't done with general consent. A shouting match ensued, and it ended with Dad pulling all the punishment cards and throwing them out with the tokens and dumping wet coffee grounds on the whole mess to ruin her precious index cards. Dad said that if she had solely decided to break the rules and disregarded the therapist's warnings about this kind of thing to stop having to reward good behavior, he was going to ruin the punishment so she couldn't arbitrarily punish with a broken system. She eventually started screaming she was going to call the cops and tried to drag Donald and I around the house with her as a human shield, despite Dad having never been physically violent to her and screeched to be left alone or she'd call the cops. It was like she thought we'd be okay with returning to the way things were before, only with a lot more unpaid chores and requirements of us. She just couldn't let go of her own ego long enough to let the therapist-approved system work and undo the damage she caused over 25 years, and refused to admit she did anything wrong. I still remember to this day the dumbfounded look on her face when Dad dumped the coffee on the pink, green, and white cards that she adored. To be honest, the system would have worked better for elementary kids, but she was too busy being an entitled control freak to let such a thought enter her thick head to entertain that maybe certified child therapists knew what they were saying at that time. And she was messing us up from a young age with her BS. Nor did it cross her mind that it would take a lot more than 7 months to undo said damage that had been ongoing since then, along with all the other trauma from the abuses she delivered unto us all daily. You know what? I'ma say it, this was a really good story. Plus ultra, that's an entitled parent. Holy crap, that sounds like a horrible home life. This was a really good story though. It was really well written, and it was really long, but it didn't drag on at all. I was interested the whole way, which is impressive. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what y'all felt about this story. I liked it. That mother, problems. That dad, why did he pick her? Come on, man. What's with military people being so trigger happy with the freaking wedding rings? Gosh. This story's called Entitled Mother Steals Paracetamol Out of My Trolley. So in the midst of a global pandemic, I managed to break my foot. So they put me in one of those walker boots so I'm not completely one-legged. Me and my partner decided to get some bits from the shop tonight. We certainly weren't panic buying, but did buy some stuff extra so we could double up when we were cooking to freeze. I was leaning on the trolley a lot for support, and my partner was walking back and forth to certain aisles and leaving me to get some bits without making me walk too far. It's quite obvious I'm wearing the boot, as the middle of winter I'm wearing a dress because I have no trousers I can comfortably wear with it on. Obviously with a broken foot, I am in a slight bit of pain, and although I've been looking for painkillers, most seem to be sold out. But I went for a hunt and managed to find 2 packs left in the shop. I didn't notice the entitled mother behind me at first, but I carried on limping away when I heard someone clearing their throat a bit too obnoxiously. I turned around and smiled at her. She was a very typical Karen, and she had entitled kids with her, around 6 or 7 and one about 10 or 11, and she was proper giving me the stink eye.
Excuse me, can I have that paracetamol?
I mean, sure, you can have this one. I handed her 1 pack.
And?
I'm sorry?
I can see you have another packet.
Yes?
Well, you're not gonna give it to me?
At this point, I gestured down to my leg. I'm really sorry. I'm in quite a bit of pain with my leg at the moment, and I need the painkillers.
Well, that's not my problem. You should have been more careful. I have 2 kids. I need to make sure they're okay if they get this virus.
I mean, I'm sure 1 pack will do for now if they're okay. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna buy these.
I can't believe you won't even help out 2 kids.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna go. I limped along down the aisle when the older of the entitled kids ran in front of my trolley, stopping me dead, and the other one went into my trolley and grabbed my packet of paracetamol. They both ran off back to the mom. I turned around, she just smirked at me and walked off. My partner came back at this point and I told them what had happened. He was just as pissed off as me, but there wasn't much we could do about it at the time. As we went to the checkout, I noticed the entitled mother unpacking her shopping cart. She didn't notice me and I saw the paracetamol just on the checkout line. So I reached across and grabbed both, hid behind my partner, and limped off to another line. I was watching her to see her reaction as she got to where the paracetamol should be. She looked down on the line and then looked up, utterly confused. That's when she spotted me. I held up the packets and smirked back. We paid and walked out, so I didn't see the aftermath, but it did give me a lot of satisfaction seeing the utter grimace across her face. Oh my god, that's also really freaking good. She stole them back! That was pretty funny. That entitled mother was incredibly selfish though, holy crap. You see someone injured with an already broken freaking body part and they need the painkillers because they are in pain, and they offered to give you one. No, they did give you one when they probably could have used both packets, and she thinks she's entitled to both painkiller packets even though no one is sick and you don't need painkillers for freaking coronavirus. Oy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.